This is Abe Pretanzer from Awards Radar, and I'm thrilled to be speaking with William Jackson Harper about his role in season 2 of Love Life. How are you today, William?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Good, good. We spoke about a year ago for the Underground Railroad, which is a very, very different kind of role from this. And I looked back at what we talked about just to get a sense of what you previewed with Love Life since I haven't seen it yet. And I think you said that you would describe yourself as unsentimental and not romantic, but you were working on it. And you
Yeah.
said you were a lasers and tacos kind of guy. So I'd love to have you elaborate a little bit on that remark now, a year later.
Yeah, still lasers and tacos kind of guy, but I think that you know, I yeah, no, still 100% lasers and tacos guy. I think that, the thing about Love Life, this in this particular season, is that it just dives into a flawed dude who still wants connection. Even though I am very much a lasers and tacos kind of guy, I still, have a significant other and I crave those kinds of connections. And so it's, Marcus is different from me in almost all respects, but I do understand what, I understand a lot about him and how he moves through the world. And there are certain things that sort of echo things in my own life as well. So
Do
yeah,
you think that season 2 is markedly different from season 1?
I feel like it is. I think that we're starting with someone in their 30s as opposed to someone in their 20s and still figuring out. The things that you're figuring out in your 20s are different from the things that you're figuring out in your 30s. And I feel like there's, especially in Marcus's case, he's a guy who feels like he's kind of reached the finish line when it comes to certain things. And he's realizing that he hasn't, that he's not done growing, he's not done maturing, he's not completely satisfied with his life. He feels some guilt about the fact that he's not satisfied with his life, and he wonders why he isn't. And I feel like that's I mean, it's definitely something that I've dealt with in my 30s. Maybe not necessarily in the messy way that Marcus has, but I've definitely had those moments where I've just been like, you know, I'm like, okay, I'm just a full-grown adult now, and I am not sure I know what I'm doing. And I thought I would have it figured out by now.
I don't know if there's going to be a season 3 of the show, but would you be open to returning in some way like Darby did in season 2? Or do you feel like Marcus's chapter is really done?
Oh, I mean, I'd love to return. I mean, I think that, it's like, I feel like, Sam, Bridget, Rochelle, they need to write the story that they want to write. And if Marcus fits in, great. If he doesn't, great. But I think that I trust their instincts as creators to, you know, bring Marcus into that world if it feels organic and real. And if they want me to, I will 100% go back because it's just like it's a great group of people, and I really had a blast working on the show.
Yeah, that seems like it. It reminded me a lot of We Broke Up, which I saw a couple months before the show started. I think that's another portrait of somebody who, in a different life, might have liked to be a romantic, in some ways, but I think has just been through too much and seen how things are. Doesn't have the same kind of optimism.
Yeah, yeah,
So, and it's certainly different than what I think a lot of audiences know. They know you from The Good Place, and Chidi, who's somebody who, while he has a very particular viewpoint on love and life, I think he too believes much more strongly in the universe being able to deliver, which I feel like Marcus just doesn't have that.
no, no. I think that Marcus is, like I think he's a bit of a cynic. I think that he's going through the world dealing with things that bother him, leave him unsatisfied, and but just sort of accepting that as a part of it, and swallowing a lot of it, and sort of like pushing down, those. Like with Chidi, I think he's one of these guys that is like the world should be a certain way, and we all have to chase it. And I think that in Marcus's case, it's like, well, the world is what it is, and I don't know how entitled we are to chasing that other thing, especially at the expense of other relationships and other people. It's like, you've sort of like made your bed, now you lie in it. You can't like have everyone else contorting themselves to make things work for you. And And so it is, you know, I think there's ways he's just a guy. I feel like that's very, you know, I feel like a lot of people feel that way, where it's just kind of like, you know, the way it is the way it is, and you know, I'm just gonna deal with it. And I think that, you know, Marcus sort of inadvertently blows up his whole life, sort of because of not being honest about, you know, what he actually needs and what he actually wants and what he actually feels. And and so yeah, it's just a human thing to sort of like push those unpleasant, hard questions away, especially if it doesn't feel like it's really worth it to get the answer.
I agree. And of course, you had 4 seasons to really get to know Chidi on The Good Place, but now with season 2 of Love Life and with the Underground Railroad, these are much more, they're limited series with like sort of a finite end. Do you like that, knowing the sort of breadth of what you're going to explore? Or do you like the chance that you might get to dive back into a character in the future?
You know, I'm always I'm open to both. I think I like having an endpoint. I think that knowing where this guy is headed, you know, is it's useful in sort of creating the character. I think a little bit just because you can map out like where you want to be by the time you get to the end of the story. And so, like, who are you at the beginning? How does this character actually change? Then you can answer a lot more of those questions and make some, you know, some choices that might feel a little bit more lived in just because you have the information. Um, but like you know, it's also the thing about working on something like The Good Place is, you know, we again had really great writers and they wrote really interesting arcs, and so um, and they also started to write to our strengths and to our energy and to our vibe, and so we always found something new to unpack and a new sort of hurdle to get over. And so it's, you know, it just depends on the project. I think that, you know, the limited series is a fun thing for me, but you know, the right, you know, sort of ongoing series, you know, could also be fun because it's also one of those things where, you know, especially if it's a long arc over several seasons, that's really great. That slow burn is it's a lot of fun to play with, and the calibrations are a lot of fun to sort of mess with.
Yeah, and I know that you have a TV series coming up which will reunite you with Kristen Milioti. That's The Resort on Peacock. What can you preview about that?
God, I don't even know what I can preview about that. But you know, we are a couple that winds up on the Mayan Riviera for vacation, and we get embroiled in this mystery, sort of you know, sort of like fall backwards into this kind of this whole intriguing weird thing that takes a bunch of weird twists and turns. And yeah, and it's just great to be working with Kristen again. I mean, like we did a play together, and you know, now we're getting to do this, and it's great. She's just a fantastic actor and a really fun person to be around. So it's great, but I think it's going to be a fun show. I think it's going to be a really interesting, weird show, which is, you know, that's my jam. Weird.
Sounds awesome. I'm also a huge fan of Thoroughbred, so I was excited to see that you're working with Corey Finley
Yeah,
on Landscape with Invisible Hand. What can you
yeah.
tell me about that?
It's wild. It's wild. It's a great script. It's you know, it's sort of it's weird. I feel like I haven't read anything that is such a sort of like low key sci-fi comedy. Is, you know, but there's still a lot of heart, and the stakes are very real, and the things that people are dealing with are very real. And I think it's one of the things that Corey does really well is that he takes these stories that could just sort of lean into a certain kind of tone or an idea, and he's good at sort of breaking it and like letting sort of, you know, letting the story go where it wants to go, letting the characters do what they need to do while keeping, you know, sort of the fullness of what life is, which is, you know, like, you know, there is humor even in the midst of like really heavy things. There's a lot of humor, and in the midst of, you know, sort of fantastical things, there's a lot of gravity, and just sort of letting all those things sort of weave and play with each other is something that he does really well. So it's great. I'm really excited to see it because I read it and I just loved it.
That sounds awesome. Is there anything that you're excited to try and hope to do in the future that you haven't done yet?
I mean, yeah, there's a lot. I think that I'm really interested in, um, I was thinking about this. It's like I think I'm interested in with uh, playing with a character that sort of like makes quick, big decisions. Like, someone that really drives, that serves as a catalyst in certain ways. I think that, I'm, as a person, a little bit more back-footed, and I kind of like to explore those things that I don't, that aren't really part of my personality in the stuff that I get to play. And so, that's sort of the next thing, and maybe also maybe just really leaning into not necessarily worrying about being sympathetic. Like I really, I'm interested in that. And so it's, whatever comes up is what comes up, and I'll try to whatever's interesting to me or intriguing. It doesn't have to fit into those parameters, but if it shows up, I'm down.
Well, it sounds really great, and I'm very much looking forward to the projects that you already have that you're working on. So, looking forward to seeing those. It's great to talk to you again, William. Thank you so much.
All right,
Take care.
take it easy.
Thanks so much.